and is also where the hospital is located. That's called the Wilson Trust, if you've ever seen that in the newspaper. So he was really a benevolent person. When you look at Wilson, very religious, did it right, and gave it all back to people who need it. And so it's kind of become a goal and a mission to put Wilson back on the map for me. And he wasn't lost to it, don't take me wrong. But anything I'm going to be doing from now on is to make sure that John T. Wilson has his place in history. That's the bottom line. And he was a tremendous benefactor to Adams County. He basically did everything right, and he gave a lot when you think about it. His son served in the war and everything else. Now, let's talk about the house. Anything questions about Wilson? I said this would be informal. I've been around a long way. I used to hate professors that lectured. So is there anybody have any questions here? I hope nobody's a professor in here.
You just have the one son, is that right?
Yeah, he had one son, Spencer, and I kind of think Spencer's bedroom was the far corner that's got all that construction boards and stuff over there in the back. I think in the big house over there, I think the room above the main room, the bigger room, was Wilson's room in there. And then W.A. Blair, I think, was like a second son. And W.A. Blair was one of the executors of his estate. So that's interesting. Interesting when I make talks to different groups, people bring forward stuff. Somebody just brought to me today a book that has all the 70th and all the people who participated and gave it to us. So, you know, we're starting to find different things. And the other night, Patty and I received pictures of Frank Blair, old pictures, who is the lawyer's son of W.A. Blair, who owned the old mansion down here. If you've ever been in it, you've probably never been in that house, but that has the most beautiful cherry staircase as soon as you walk in the house down here, this big old house here on the corner. So let's talk a little bit about the house. More people come to me today and said, I don't know whether you were not thinking or where you were beaddled or you lost your mind or what, but you took this project on, and how in the world do you ever took this project on? And I think that would be comments from here, from the other half. But she was a co-investor, so at any rate. But I came up here to buy that railroad caboose, and something just told me I had to do this. And I still haven't quite figured out why, because I had a comfortable life up to that point. I was restoring tractors and trucks and working 2 days a week for Kenny, and you know, but it's changed my life totally. Kenny Morrison is Kenny. He's my superintendent, and I work for him like an untitled assistant. But at any rate, we decided to do it. And so the first thing was to get the cables through it to reinforce the brick walls. And this was all done before the grants. And then to prop up the walls, and if you look at the pictures over there, there's some pretty significant timbers propping up the walls. All the bricks have been cut out now, and they have to be cut out the 1 3/8. You cannot use regular cement mortar. There's only 2 places that make lime-based mortar in the country. One is in Chicago, and the other is at Monroe, Virginia. It's pre-mixed. You just mix water with it. So every brick is cut out, and you take a little tuck pointer, and you put the mortar in there. Where there's a crack, we put stainless steel rods in there, embedded them in the rock to keep the crack from splitting, and completely relaid all that. So, and then the front, I had a gentleman by the name of Dale Cooper this summer, who was 80 years old. We tore out that whole front section. I did that part, and he agreed to lay up the rest. He's 80 years old. I'm, 68? And he literally killed me. I agreed with him that I would do all the mortar work, or have somebody, quote unquote, do all the mortar work. Well, my helper got sick, and so I had to have about every other day carry the brick, mix all the mortar, get it up on the scaffolding and everything else. I would come home down to our place battalion, and I'd just fall in bed. And he's up there every morning, it's ready to go at 8 o'clock, waiting on me and ready to go. And So we got it done, and if you look at the front of the house, the way it looked before, you can't tell. It's done beautifully. So that's all been relayed. We got the heating system in, the geothermal systems in the bottom part of the house. 150-foot wells are punched in the ground. And so there's no gas, no oil, or anything else that's going to heat it. 30% tax credit on that. We got to put the second part in that takes care of the upstairs. And so we got two major expenditures that to go. We got the second part of the heating system, and we also have the roof. The lady in Columbus, bless her heart, she wants everything the way it was in the 1840s. And I totally agree with her. On the outside, when you restore a historical project, they want it to appear as it did in that period of time. So we cleaned all the brick off. It used to be called the Blue House. If you remember that from around here, it was actually painted blue. And over the years, it weathered off. If you look up in the top of the front, we haven't taken it off. There's still some blue up there. Well, a high-pressure washer, my grandson did that, and he cleaned all the front of it off and got all that residue. It wasn't blue, it's brown, is what it amounted to, off the whole front of the house. So we got those kind of things done. But at any rate, they wanted the original brick. They have to approve the color of the mortar that went into the brick. The windows in it are old glass. You ought to try to find old glass and cut it to each of those different window panes. There's 168 window panes. We're not quite done, getting them all done. And second half, the heating system has to go in up in the top. But we'll have heat this winter. I will tell you this, if you ever visit us, and anytime the gates open, we'll take time to talk. It is the coldest, windiest place ever created. You stand there, and we ought to be on retainer with NASA. We could create a wind tunnel there. And the wind comes across from that valley, across through there, and it just literally freezes icicles on the side of the house. So this year we got heat. So we're going to focus on 2 bathrooms upstairs and the second part of the heating system. We're also going to insulate the walls. Insulate the floors. We cannot do anything with the walls. The walls are 3 brick thick. There's an inner layer, middle layer, and then an outer layer. Now I could tell you all about bricks and how to make bricks. I've got 5 notebooks of bricklaying, windows, you name it. You can't imagine how much, thank goodness for Google, you can't imagine how much research is going into what you need to do to restore a house. I wish I were 20 years younger. I would go into business restoring houses, because most people that restore houses got deep pockets. And you can make a real good living if you did it right, restoring homes. So goal is to finish it up in January 1st, 2012. Actually, December 31st, so we can get these tax incentive grants. And I'm sorry, 2011. We have to have the grants done by July 1st, 2012. And so we're on a pretty good mission now to get that done. We've turned the corner. We got most of the outside done except the log cabin. And we can get the rest of it done, I think, without, assuming our health holds out and everything else. And then my wife's going to be more actively working there too, since she's retired, and we can get some of the work done. Not yet. At any rate, now, what's the plan for the future? What I'd like to do, or what we'd like to do, is make it a bed and breakfast. There'll be 2 more bathrooms upstairs, and advertise it in the 3-state area. Now, initially, I had this bright idea that we would not put any modern conveniences in it, and have the bathrooms that are facilities sitting outside like a support facility. And the lady in Columbus said, that ain't gonna fly.